Hello everyone, Faisal Talpur here once again. I'd like to share something with you, and that is once you reach a certain stage in business, or I suppose at any time in business, there are times when you get offered very good deals, very lucrative deals, and sometimes those deals are so good that it is almost impossible to say no to them, right? And it is very difficult. So you get entrapped into a situation where sometimes, I mean, it also depends on who is actually bringing the business to you. So if that business is being brought to you by perhaps a friend or a family member, or somebody who you know very well, also could be a business colleague. So that is one scenario, who is bringing that business to you. And then the second scenario is that, how lucrative that business is, right? Or how lucrative that business is right now, and how good it's going to turn out to be in a few years' time. The difficulty that I face, and I'm sure, if you're anybody like me, you would probably face the same, is it's very difficult sometimes to say no to situations or businesses when especially they are being brought to you by people who you like, and you share a very good relationship with. But over a period of time, I have actually managed to say no, because I have identified, what works for me, what doesn't work for me. So I have got some value triggers. And what I mean by value triggers is that I have identified, what falls into the very narrow category for, of what I feel is ethically right, and it's responsible business. Okay, because anything that we do in business, it has got an impact, right? And that impact creates ripple effect, right? So anything that we do, we have got to keep in mind what kind of impact and what kind of an effect it's going to create for the people who are directly related to it, and also, to in a bigger way, to the society and to the culture and to the community that you're part of. So um, I have identified a very narrow window of what I feel is the right business to get involved with. And I have got a criteria. It's not a written criteria, it's a criteria which I've got over here, which I've developed over the years, which I know, beyond that criteria, I am not compromising anything. I do not want to say yes to anything that falls out of that small circle of, my good way of doing business, if that makes sense, right? So this is one. And the second thing is, of course, you have got to also keep in mind the relationship that you share with the person who's bringing that business to you. Now, after you have reached a certain stage in business, you will find you may end up saying no, depending on how you define that criteria, but you will find that you will end up saying no to more business as compared to yes, right? But the tricky part here is not when you say no. The tricky part here is to keep that relationship intact, and still morally and ethically continue to do what you feel is the right thing to do in business. So this is how I do it. I'll share my secret with you. And this is a very fine balance, a fine line between not annoying the people who are bringing the business to you, and then at the same time, saying no to them as well, because you don't want to be going out in the word should not be in the marketplace that, for example, this particular businessman says no to every single business that you introduce to him. So this is how I do it. I actually offer help and advice and support for free. Okay, if I don't want to get deeply involved in business, so if I don't want any financial transactions happening, and if I don't want any, how to put this, contract being signed with me, simply because I'm not really in support of that particular business as such, right? Then I would, and I still want to obviously keep the relationship intact, I will offer free advice and help and support, right? Um, to assist in that business and still not be part of that business. That way I stick to my goal, I stick to the focus, I stick to, you know, my thin line of what I feel is the right way of doing business, and I still keep my relationship intact. And it sends a very subtle message out to the people who are bringing the business to me, that you know, this particular guy is not going to get involved with such business. I mean, of course, you know, even for me to get involved, even at an advice stage or an help stage, it has to be a decent business, right? Whereas I do support, you know, the overall concept of the business, but my involvement in that business, you know, I personally may be directly not supporting, or it may not be, I may not be able to contribute as much, or I may not be able to add much value. So for whatever reason. So that's my trick, that's my secret, where I still offer help. I still stay out, right? I still continue to remain, you know, in relation with the person who's brought that business to me. So everybody is happy. I suppose that has made some sense. And if you have any questions, please feel free to comment below this video. For now, thank you very much. Faisal Talpur once again. Adios.